Thank you, because I can't do two things at once. My mouth is running, my brain is not. So, without further ado, since we are recording now, welcome everyone. I would like us to kick off one of our facilitators here. Who would like to share an idea, something that you want to throw out? I'll just let y'all pick who.
I'll jump in. It was like the one thing that I did last year that I thought actually went really well. Because I think a lot of us are exploring what it means to have these hybrid congregations, we took it took some effort to coordinate, but took the time to record families who were at home doing the candle lighting Advent wreath liturgy. And what we did is I had it build so that the first week, there was an online family that did it, and then an in-person family who finished the liturgy. And then we built it each week after. And so I picked 4 families at home and 4 families who were in person and crafted the liturgy based on the candles so that it kind of served almost like as a prelude. And so it was a wonderful way to kind of intentionally engage those who weren't in the physical space. And it's probably one of the things that we did last year that I really liked. And I think I'm probably going to try and keep for the future. And the biggest commitment was getting that information out to people ahead of time, because it definitely took them longer to send it in. And then I did have to do just a little bit of editing on the front and back end to make it all work. But it was nice because what I did is each week that, it builds, by the 4th week, I had 3 digital videos to start the candle lighting liturgy and then a live person to finish it. And it just worked really, really well. And so I was going to share that and say, that was worth it. I liked that one.
That's so great because, I forgot I was going to do a poll here, but is everybody in person and online? Raise hands. Okay, there we go. We had that last week. And so we keep doing this stuff, talking about how do we minister to this online congregation. And that is such a wonderful way to reach both of them. That's great.
I just might carry on with that Advent candle thing. We last year we did we were just online, and so we did have families at home do the candles, but I love the way she's combined it for this year. Not last year though, but one of the things we've done in person is when families light the Advent candle. It's not necessarily families, when people light the Advent candle. Sometimes we have families, sometimes we have groups that are put together. A couple of years ago, we had people share a tradition from their growing up, their life, something they do in Advent to prepare, some way they celebrate Christmas. And so we open the candle lighting with a little bit of, this is what our family tradition is, and then here's the tradition of the church and how we are a family together. And that was very interesting. We didn't really ask them to, but a lot of them wound up sharing church-related traditions. Our family always did this, but I think it engaged everyone to hear the personal stuff about people as they begin to then share the liturgy for the Advent candle.
We did that for years, and I agree with you. And one of the things I liked about it is the connections that come, because you could even hear them in the fellowship hall after it saying, "Oh yeah, we do that." And so it was really good, especially if you have new members. It's a real nice way to form that connection. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I remember one of our couples about my age in our church, the story she shared was that they got engaged at the family Christmas after worship. It wasn't just family, the whole church would be invited at their house, and they announced their engagement that Christmas Eve. And so everybody now, Christmas Eve, everybody's always reminding them of that.
I like that.
What else? Anybody else have anything with Advent candles lighting? Any of non-facilitator here that you'd like to share? Please feel free if you've got an idea that we'd love to hear it.
Well, last year we took advantage of the Advent boxes that Ferncliff did. And we're not sure exactly, well, we're not going to do the same thing this year because so many people are back in person. But we do want to, we've been trying to figure out how we're going to reach those people who are at home. And we may do boxes on a smaller scale, but that was a wonderful thing. We sent boxes with candles and a little make your own wreath. Of course, people could use their own in a liturgy that, you know, we kind of created a bit with our own. And so we're gonna try to continue that, reaching those people, at least the ones who are not in person. We've become increasingly aware. One of the things that I've figured out from hearing all these seminars, finally got through my hard head, is that online is not necessarily just people waiting to come back in person.
Mhm.
That online is a thing, can be a thing unto itself. So we're trying to figure out a way to engage those people who will not be there, the ones who are uncomfortable being there, and the ones who that's just not their life situation. So we're going to continue to send out some kind of packet with wreaths and a way for people at home to participate in the lighting of the Advent candle.
To piggyback on that, so yeah, we're doing the same thing. What we've noticed is that a lot of our young families are really only coming to church maybe once a month. And talking to those parents, that there's been expressed a lot of guilt about what they feel like they're not capable of doing right now. So I'm trying to put together Advent packs, probably just for my families. I'm going to open it up if anyone wants in on it, but it's pretty family oriented. And so we're doing the, I forget which one it is. livinggrace.com sells the battery operated Advent candles in the purple and pink. So I was going to get those. And then there's a craft for hands instead. But two things that I thought were really neat is, you know, my kids adore, to a level I find almost disturbing, but I was like, nope, it's the candy, those Advent calendars with candy in it. Like I have scoured, if someone wants to make a quick mint, we need an Advent calendar with candy in it and scripture texts. Like, yay for scripture text, but there's no candy. So, you know, I gotta say, I want to add that. But I'm going to be adding this year. Have you heard the manger for our Messiah craft? You can do it two ways. You can take a doll and build a creche for it. Or Living Grace and a couple others have this as like $1 or $2 as a kind of a little paper craft project. And the idea is that throughout the month of building up to Advent, you add pieces of hay to the manger. And you can craft that as that pieces of hay are acts of kindness. And then you talk about what your act of kindness was at dinner time. Or the craft project that they sell is like saying nice things, saying a prayer, you know, doing a charity. But that's something that we're going to be adding this year to try and give families something to do at home. Because I heard a lot of parents talking about their discomfort trying to add these new traditions to home life that they hadn't already been doing. They'd been relying on being in person at church. And so they're making new traditions. And those were two things that I was thinking of doing, is sending that home with them and hoping that could help.
Hey, Julie, would you, can I screen share?
Yes.
Let's see. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. There we go.
You should be able to.
Yeah, there we go. Let's see.
There it is.
That's not the one I want though.
No, it's there.
Here's what I want. I'm gonna try something. I'm not sure what to do when I do this. Does that? Yeah. Okay. So that's not the one I want either. Here we go. This is we kind of started talking about things we did at home. This is a book we put together and used people in the congregation to write devotional stories about reflecting on their Christmas experience. And I'm just going to show you a little bit. I'm not going to show you the whole book, but this was very meaningful. We had lots of great response to this. It's sorry I couldn't turn off that page turn sound. I find that incredibly annoying, but this one didn't give me a choice to turn it off. You may not be able to hear it. This is that's just kind of the intro, but then we had Betsy Smith is one of our elders. That's a picture of Betsy right there when she was a kid. And then she writes about her experience, and it has a Bible verse. It's a little devotion, and I'll just kind of flip through it. You know, there are different elders, and then I think all these so far were elders, but it's just, you know, everybody loves seeing these pictures. Richie is, Hunt is, you know, she's got a few years on me, so that picture goes way back. So they really get a kick out of seeing her as a child, but sharing stories. And the stories were just really, really meaningful. Some people, here's one, it's a recipe, and it has a story about, you know, the recipe. And a lot of people talked about using the recipe. Brigida's, I don't know if you can see it over here. Brigida Gardner, a member of our church, was actually born in Latvia. And so she has some, you know, traditional Latvian recipe for Christmas. And I'm not going to go through all that, but anyway, I just kind of, it really resonated that people find, it's sort of like we were talking about with the Advent wreath, people finding out about the lives of the people in the congregation. And it's a way every day for people to have an at-home devotion time. And it's, in some ways, it was even more engaging for kids because there were stories about people they knew too. So it gave them kind of an entrance into that. Okay.
If I
Jeff,
can
can I ask a
throw
question?
in. Okay.
How did you use this? Was it just something that was sent to the congregation?
Yeah, well, we actually did. We got the box from Ferncliff and we supplemented it. We added that to the box. And so it was part of that packet. And then on Sunday, that would be the worship part of it that we used in worship. But each day, you know, there is one all the days of the week.
And I'll say that's less threatening to ask somebody instead of, you know, would you write a devotion to share with everyone? You know, that can be a very intimidating thing where you say, would you share a story, you know, about yourself, about your family, your life during this? That's a lot less, that's a lot easier to do than that.
Really shared about that during the one that we did last week on events, and we are gonna do a version of that at our church this year. But one of the things that we're gonna do is each page of the devotion will be will also be an image that we'll put on social media. And so every day, those who are at home can either read their book and the people have been warned, you know, this is going to go on social media. So it will be both places. So then there can also be some conversation on social media about the traditions and the stories.
That's a great idea.
Jeff, what did you use? What program? I thought I saw something on the first page.
Oh, that was just something I put on it to show you guys. I can't remember now.
It came out of Publisher.
Yeah, we've made it in Publisher, but that was a flipbook PDF is what we actually gave it the animation of the page turning.
Mm-hmm.
It's flipbookpdf.net, and that was just it had the watermark on it because that's the online free version, but you can pay a little bit of money and, you know, get rid of the watermark.
You were asking about any other wreath related possibilities. And the only other one that we've used before, and it was funny because we did use it last year and someone got very upset and said that we always do this. And I was like, we've literally done that once. But it was to take the Crispon symbols. We have a giant Christmas tree that has Chrismon symbols on it. And so they're all very large, but some of them are pretty ornate and some of them are pretty esoteric. And while we were putting them up, someone was like, I don't even know what most of these mean. And so kind of on a whim, one year, I added 3 symbols because I was also trying to get more families involved. So they do the Advent lighting, and then they'd add 3 ornaments to the tree. And the parent, in this case, was the one reading, and the kids were the one hanging it on the tree. But the parent would describe what the Chrismon was, and the kid would hold it up, and they just talk a little bit about the meaning of the symbol, and then the kid would place it on the tree. And I found out that there were adults who had never understood what they were before. And we had a lot of fun with it. We have so many eyes of God. It's a triangle with like a little oval in the middle. And it's the all-seeing eye. And we never realized that, you know, we have like 20 of those symbols as compared to all the others. It was just really funny. But that was an interesting thing. And I'm trying to think about if we want to do it again this year, since apparently it struck a chord once. So yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
saw Blake. Yeah.
we do a hanging of the greens the first Sunday of Advent, which it explains Chrismons, it explains the garland, Advent wreath, the tree, how that's come down through the years. And I think they've done this since Jesus died and was raised from the dead. But we have had conversations about not doing it, and death threats have ensued. So it's something that we do the first Sunday so that everybody is reminded of what all of the different things in the sanctuary, what meaning they serve. They're not just decoration, but the Chrismons actually have a purpose, the Advent wreath, the Christmas tree itself, and poinsettias and all of that.
You know, Julie, speaking to tradition and the way we've done it ever since 1853, I have always been partial to readings done by families in the church at the Advent wreath, especially the ones rooted in Isaiah, you know, Isaiah 6 and 7 and 35. But I always love to put a twist on it and have both the traditional and non-traditional families in the church represented at the wreath. And so it was a very careful choosing of, 5 families, culminating in lighting the Christ candle on Christmas Eve. And I think that was a way of mixing the old and the new in a very positive way, and following Jesus' love of widening the circle.
Yes. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk a little bit more in a minute about worship and how structured in Advent, but I just wanted to piggyback on Marie's comment. My sermon series this Advent, for all the same reasons she expressed, my sermon series is rocking around the Chrismon tree. So every Sunday we're going to talk about one of the symbols and kind of use that as the framework that how we get into the nature of Christ in that story.
You gonna play that song?
Well, David Glaze was threatening to rewrite lyrics to it. I don't know if that's over the top or not, but we'll push it pretty far around here.
Carol, what about you?
Well, I'd kind of like to skip forward to Christmas Eve because of some of the things that I wanted to talk about. I was in a church, last church I was in, we did 3 Christmas Eve services, and I'm not necessarily advocating that, but we did it because we didn't have enough room and we could spread it out. But the first one that we did was an outreach thing that worked really well for us. We did a service at 5:30 for children, and it was specifically designed for families with younger children. And one of the first years that we did it, in walked a mama with quadruplets, whom I eventually got to baptize and confirm, and they're off in college now or something, but they came for that very reason. And we did very similar things that you're talking about, is explain to the children in their kind of language what all this stuff means. And it's a Chrismon tree. And sometimes we had special guests. And if I can figure out how to share this, I'm going to show you a little clip. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Mallory Mouse is a little puppet that we had in a vacation Bible school that the children really connected to. And Mallory came for stewardship to talk with the children at children's time. And Mallory came
You know who's
for
here?
Christmas Eve.
Mallory, is that you? Hey, Miss Karen, what are you doing here? Is it Sunday? Well, no, Mallory, it's not Sunday. Well, what are all these people doing here? Mallory, don't you know what today is? Thursday? No, it's Christmas Eve. Well, what's that?
Okay. That just gives you an idea. And of course, it's, at the end, we had a birthday party for Jesus when those days when you could go in and, in big sanctuaries, you could spread them out this year, I think, and, be careful with your distancing and stuff. But we would advertise that in the community and usually had a fairly good response in addition to our own young families. And then the second service that we had a 7 o'clock service that we kind of called a family style Christmas, because that was a service where we had so many people, and we kind of organized that for young families with the idea that it was going to be kind of a raucous, had the choir singing all kinds of big music and fun music. And one year we did something that could be done at a pageant also sometime during the year, but I took the book by Terry Kay called To Whom the Angels Spoke. And instead of me doing a reflection that year at 7, we did a little piece of drama that's a little bit like a reader's theater. And I'm going to show you just a little bit of that. Because this was something that seemed to really connect well with people. And it was a very different kind of thing from what we were going to be doing at 11 o'clock. So let's see if this is going to work.
To Whom the Angels Spoke by Terry Kay. Once upon a time, there were 3 shepherds who lived together to keep watch over their sheep. Oh, there may have been more than 3 of them, but that doesn't matter. 3 is a good number, not too few, not too many. What does matter is that the 3 shepherds were good at their work, and their work was not easy. They had to protect their flocks from wild animals, and they had to know where to find fields of deep, thick grass and pools of clean, clear water. They had to know when their sheep were restless and wanted to move about, or when they wanted to just rest. Certainly, the 3 shepherds knew about sheep. Still, as people living together, they were different. One shepherd was tall. Another shepherd was short. The third shepherd was neither tall nor short. He looked short when he stood beside the tall shepherd, and he looked tall when he stood beside the short shepherd.
All right, so that worked really well that year. And I think it could also work at a pageant. And the book it's simple. If you take the book, you can just really write it out and put your emotions with it just as you would. And then at 11 o'clock p.m., which is one of my favorite services, was the quiet one where we served communion and where we took it way down. And year after year, the attendance at that service grew. We also brought all our college students back and got in touch with them and asked them to do the liturgy and asked them to be a real part of the service. And they seemed to come back. And then we had at midnight, when it was Christmas Day, we had treats for them and hot chocolate. And they would sit around till 1:30 in the morning at the church, just catching up. And that was real special. We did a variety of things. One year, because we were in North Carolina near Winston-Salem, we did a Moravian Christmas and did a love feast at that service and served hot chocolate. And they roll the carts around, grease the wheels of the carts first, I found out, in the middle of this beautiful, solemn thing. So anyway, but then, we had a hammered dulcimer player come in that that Christmas. It's a lot of stress on musicians and stuff, but one year we took the story, The Gift of the Magi, and created sort of a short play because I love that story. And, that was effective. Real quickly, I'll go back to To Whom the Angel Spoke, by the way. If you don't know that book, it has a beautiful, beautiful message of how all the shepherds, as you could tell, were different. But when they got to the Christ child, they realized that they were more alike than they were different. So it's really a beautiful book. And then other times we did traditional lessons and carols that evening, but I don't know which one I liked the most but they were different enough. It fired me up because I love Christmas anyway, and having those different experiences, I really loved. So those were the things I was thinking about.
That's great.
Something that
You
worked
touched
really
on
well last year.
like with To Whom the Angels, doing something interactive and had them stuff.
Yeah, Julie, you're kind of walking up on us.
Marie, I think you were saying something.
Oh, it's okay. So something that worked really well last year that I
Y'all
said we were
go
going
on.
to do it, and now I'm debating whether now I'm like, maybe we'll do something else. But something that worked really well last year was we did a digital nativity. And what I did is wrote a nativity play where it was basically just a scene, and then I could bring in kids and their families. Kind of on their schedule, but the neat trick was saying, hey, can I record you right after worship on this day? And it kind of made them come to church. Hey, but it was great because we were able to get almost all the kids involved in ways that they wouldn't have done before. Because I've got some really shy kids and some kids that don't want to do the nativity play, but they were willing to be filmed. And the trick that we found worked really well was to have a very loose script and to give the kids a line to react off of. And so one of my favorite scenes, I had a father and son acting out Herod commanding the soldiers to go kill the baby. And the dad totally hammed it up, and his son hammed it up right with him, and it ended up being a really enjoyable thing. But it was great because I was able to incorporate parents as well as their kids, and then we could still have a nativity. And I'm torn about doing it this year. I think I want to again. But that was really fun. And if you've got somebody who's willing to organize that, it did take a little time, mostly in the editing process, but it was worth it. And the thing that I really liked about it is that we got to put it on our social media, and it was shared everywhere. Parents sent it to grandparents, sent it to friends, and kids couldn't get enough of watching themselves. So we played it on Christmas Eve, and we played it the Sunday after Christmas. And then I think we also ended up playing it some other time. But it was fun, and it was something that, in our digital age lasts. And so, we still have it. And so part of me is like, maybe we'll do something different. I'll just replay last year's, but it was an enjoyable thing to put together.
Marie, we did one year, and I did this because I led the middle school youth, and they don't want to get up and speak much, or this group didn't. And so we filmed a Christmas Carol, like a silent movie that Mark put the sepia over, and they didn't even have to talk. They just did all the different scenes, and it was wonderful and fun, and they loved watching it. And then the parents came for the big unveiling, and Mark had all this, silent movie music running through it, and it was really a lot of fun.
Yep.
I like that idea. This year, my youth, because of their crazy schedules, are going to be doing December 5th. And I think they have a nice theme picked, but that's one of the things we were trying to figure out is what they wanted to do for the sermon. And I really like the idea of a silent film, because I think that's actually the challenge we're facing, is they don't want to say anything. And I'm like, well, the preaching moment usually has words, but maybe not.
Don't have to.
Hey, Julie, can you let
One
me?
year, go ahead, Dave.
Oh, I'm sorry. Julie, can you let me share something on the screen?
You should be able to look down at the bottom there. You should hit the
Yeah.
green.
I'm coming across and let's see, share the, what I'm gonna, well, it doesn't seem to be, well, I guess I can't, but anyway, if you look on YouTube and you look up children sharing, children explaining Christmas, if you don't have the resources
Oh.
that Marie Maynard O'Connor has, there are some wonderful 2, 3, 4 minute long children explaining Christmas things that you can project or show on a TV and really get people laughing and enjoying Christmas. I'm always looking for resources that like Lessons and Carols always works in Newport because we don't have a choir. We don't, it's all about congregational singing, so it's there. Children explaining Christmas.
Those are fun. I like those.
Joey, I was going to share, it's been a few years ago, and we happened to have gone to Ferncliff, and we were at the chapel, the stone chapel, and we had a non-rehearsal Christmas pageant. We had some, suggestions of costumes, and we said, who wants to be an angel? Adults, kids, everybody. They went and got a costume, a halo might have been all it was. Who wants to be? And so then we just kind of went through. We had a written dialogue. None of them had to say it, but it had a narration. And so we'd say, now all the angels come up. And so everyone, it was kind of participatory. I mean, you could sit and not be a part of it, but it didn't take any rehearsal. It didn't take any much preparation beforehand, and they really seem to get into it. I think the adults like the chance to be in Christmas pageants again. They all had fond memories of having done that growing up, and we don't ever ask adults to come be the angels again, or if we do, it's in usually very formal, memorizing parts type thing. It's you could do it anywhere. It lends itself to an outside thing, lends itself to a fellowship hall more than worship, but there's no reason it couldn't be done on Sunday morning. Say, I need 10 angels. Who wants to be an angel? Come up here, and here's your halo, and go from there.
I'm wondering if anybody's ever done and I don't guess you would really do it on Christmas Eve, but has ever been into a stable or a barn and done, well, you wouldn't have a bonfire in the barn, I don't suppose, but Blake, you got people up there that have, you said farms and things like that. I mean, I think that would be really neat. I know that Libby, now, where is Libby Lazara? Mount Comfort. Anyway, they did a big bonfire last year and it just sounded really magical. Have any of y'all ever done the Christmas Eve? You have, Blake? How was it?
Yeah, I have, growing up, we had a Christmas Eve service at somebody's farm, and we actually had Mary on a donkey, and we walked around their farm to different things as the story was told, and that worked really, really well.
Request.
So,
Yeah. Linda's mom has passed. Oh, wow.
There we go. I muted him.
Yeah, and I think that, Ferncliff has the outdoor thing going on. I'm not sure when that is this year, but I just think that would be so cool.
Yeah. Well, I've just got to piggyback. I saw this, and I'll share it. I'm making notes. If you things that are shared here, resources, I'll get them and I'll put those in a document. They'll be in the update tomorrow along with the recording here. But this was a participation Christmas pageant. And in the article that it's in, she even talked about how she told everybody to bring, I'm thinking this is intergenerational. If you have no children at all, you could do this. And they had the script, and you can get the script. I've downloaded the thing, and it's only like 2 pages long, but it's one of those where every time I say, sheep, everybody goes bah, or you may have just one group that do, but everybody participates that way. But she said, everybody bring any bells that you have. Everybody needs a bell. And she said there were cowbells and there were little bitty, it was so much fun seeing that. And so when she said angels, I think the script says the organ plays, or the piano plays, and it's hallelujah, hallelujah. But she'd have them ring the bells. And so it was a way to get people excited about doing it, participate, have something to bring. But then you did it right there, and there really wasn't any, nobody had to practice or anything else. And anyway, I'll share that article. I just thought it was a great idea.
Yeah, I remember, Julie, we did that years ago, and the only one I can remember is Joseph was asleep, and so whenever Joseph was read, all the men snored.
I bet some of you have done live nativities, right? Especially out in the country. It's a little smelly. But we did a live nativity down in South Georgia, rural community, and we added a little technological twist to it. Had a little radio control car, and I converted it, and we strung a wire from way up on the steeple down to the manger scene, and we had the star. Had a guy over in the corner with a radio control thing and run the star down the wire, lit up with batteries.
This is not anything to help you, but just remind me, when we were in Vicksburg, they did the same pageant forever. And they had, the manger had a light bulb in it. And so when the baby Jesus was born, this 100-watt light bulb lit up, because everyone knows that's how birth is. But the bad part is it was this old switch that clicked so loudly. So, and the baby Jesus was born and just snapped, this loud snap, and then the light would glow. And it just never seemed very reverent to me. Joey, I was gonna mention just one other thing. I always find Christmas Eve, Advent up to Christmas Eve helpful because we have so many visitors who drop in. On Christmas Eve, we'll have as many people we don't know that we've never seen before as we will that we do. But during Advent, we start picking up people. And so I try to preach sermon series. So it gives them a reason to need to come back. And some of I was just going to list, I've done, the characters. So I'll preach around the nativity scene, and I've done the importance. I did. I don't want to go back to the poster, but I did one with. I used scenes from movies. It was, it's the miracle. I can't remember what it was though. It's a Wonderful Life, and how the Grinch stole Christmas. And I would actually use clips. That's a little more problematic that now that we're all online, but not impossible. Depending on how you do that, we have some license, but we show little clips and then use that kind of as a springboard.
Hey, Jeff, tell us what you're going to do with rock around the Christmas tree.
The Christmas tree.
Can you the Christmas? Can you flesh that out a little bit?
Yeah, not much right now because I hadn't really done it all out. I'm going to actually use the symbols, and I don't know which ones. But when I do, which it'll be like in the next week or so, I'll be glad to give it to you. I'm going to just use a symbol. It's going to be a way to talk about who Jesus is beyond just, what I always run to during Advent is I have a hard time not preaching the same sermon every week. It's just the story's so big and so everybody knows it. And I'm always trying to find some stuff. So I've gotten, the truth is I like to build the Advent, but I always try to kind of, especially knowing that I might have people there who aren't church, I try to build in a little more of the nature of Christ into it.
Mhm.
And so using those symbols will allow me to do that. And beyond, but I really don't know exactly what that's going to be. Every week I'm going to take one of the chrismons and Lamb of God jumps out at me. But there are others, and I'm going to use one of those to kind of build the liturgy. Tying scripture, I'm breaking the rule. This is sermon series are the one time that I sometimes look for scripture to fit the what I'm doing before. Generally, I'm very good about getting scripture and then deciding where it's going. I try not to do it, but on a sermon series, I'll decide kind of what I want and then look for scripture. So I hadn't really done much with that. But some of the other traditions, some of the other sermon series, I did one on traditions, the importance of family, and that one I talked about our families, but then that's where you use the genealogy of Christ. The importance of gifts, the wise men, which I will sometimes throw in before Epiphany, depending on how I'm presenting the series. The importance of listening, that was about the shepherds. And so, I just always try to give them a hook where at least loosely people think it's developing it. If they come back next week, they'll hear it, hear some more or something they want. But I've not just at Advent, but other times I've done series with those movie clips and people really respond to that. I think just because it's unexpected as part of it as much as anything. And it seems like if you're sitting at home, it just seems like, oh, here's something different. I want to go be a part of and see, or I love that movie. I want to, we did, this isn't Christmas, but we did one on Frozen one time. And I hadn't anticipated this, but kids came in costume. Little girls came in costume wearing Frozen outfits. And at one point, while the scene is playing on and there's the music playing, the songs playing, all the little girls gathered into the aisle and started singing the song along with the movie. And I hadn't, this was beyond better than I expected, but movies automatically resonate. They've already hooked people in, they're already connected. So if they like the movie, that, you've already got them drawn into the service.
Jeff, what is what do you use for your licensing?
Yeah, we've got that's the tricky part. We have, and I can't tell you, but I'll look. We have license for everything except Disney, which is the one you really want to use. Disney, we do on a case-by-case basis because by and large, everybody else is covered under one license and Disney does their own.
And they're usually very good about allowing you as long as you contact them.
Right. We have, I can't remember, the music one is CLC, is that what it is? And I don't know if that's the same one we have for video. We have a video license and I just can't remember what it is because I don't have to do that part.
We enjoy setting a theme for Advent Christmas, like you were talking about. We did the Voices of Christmas, especially in a Luke year, because then you can hear from Zechariah. And I have some of those scripts that I've written if anybody wants to look at them. But one of the things I did find out in writing scripts is shorter is far better. And year after year, I say I'm going back and I'm editing that again. But one year we used the theme Home for Christmas, and we had a campus manager who could really build things. So he built a fireplace for us, and we had it at the front of the chancel area. This church was designed so that you had a lot of space up there. And I was so shocked at how much that warmed the space up. I couldn't believe it. And then after that, we moved it into another study room where we had a poetry sharing session one night around the fireplace, and it was so cool. But you could put that out in a gathering area or a narthex-ish kind of area too, and you get all that warmth. I was shocked at that. And then, for Christmas Eve in the family service, you had a family that gathered around there and shared the Christmas story there or something. But that one was neat.
This is pretty low tech. Like I think a lot of churches, we are struggling with our families with the younger kids aren't willing to come back yet because until hopefully today at about 2 p.m. they can start getting vaccinated. But even so, it's our younger kids who are more hesitant, which is completely understandable. And we often do a series with the kids with the children's sermon during Advent. And so what we're doing this year is I found, and I think it was Christian Book Distributors, an unpainted nativity scene. And there are like 12 different items in it. And so each family is going to get one to paint. And then on each Sunday, we'll add a number of them in. And so even those who are at home on Zoom will see the one that they had painted that gets added in. And we can, talk about who has painted this week and who has decorated them. And really looking for ways to connect those who are in person with those who are on Zoom. And thought that would be a way to tie in some of our families that don't feel comfortable coming back quite yet.
I like that.
That's a real good idea.
Where did you get this unpainted nativity scene?
Christian Book Distributors.
Mm-hmm.
It was not very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Though I will say it used to their website was cbd.com, and they have changed that. I can't figure out why they think the connotation is different for that now.
I like that one. I think I might steal that idea.
I tried something like that with a Christmas, puzzle, and they would get different pieces during it. And I do not recommend that. That did not work very well because you couldn't figure out, well, were you here last week? Oh, well, that's why you don't have this. So run over here and get it. But anyway, I love that idea. Wish I had thought of that, Leslie, instead of what I tried.
We did something similar last year. Illustrated Ministries has tons of great things just to color. So they had ornaments, and we grabbed those ornaments off of Illustrated Ministries, sent them to every family with a clear ball to put their ornament in once it was colored. And because we were in an unusual situation last year, we put an outdoor tree up outside the sanctuary. So all that stuff went on the tree outside. And it was in a small community. It was kind of a focal talking point. So it was fun.
Nice.
That is neat. I was thinking about them, and also SALT. I don't know what SALT stands for. SALT is a source that I'll share it and thing, but they have a lot of Advent different, you can buy, it's like $35 if your church has 100 or less. I mean, that's how you buy the thing, or $10 for one, but you can download the Advent books. And I know one of them was Advent in color, I believe. And so it's got all kinds of, and you print out the books and everything, but it's got coloring pages in addition to that, which is kind of, for a lot of people get into that, doing that. And there was also one, and I can't remember, it was the first one on the thing, but it was about sharing, it was being more involved, like not being so commercial about Christmas. It was, I can't think of what they say, I'm just blank right there, but it was sit around, each day or each section, it would say at the dinner table, ask these questions, share in this way, do these things. Anyway, it was neat. I'll share that source in there too.
Hey, Julie, SALT is saltproject.org.
Yeah, I still don't know what this is.
Printable resources.
Yes, printable resources. That's it.
Saltproject.org.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be curious to know if anybody has a new, exciting book, like a liturgical book for Advent and Christmas. I've been kind of out of that for a while. I love to use Sacridice on the online, but I didn't know if anybody's seen something that,
I keep going back to Henry Nouwen.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I know of them, and they are good.
Yeah, something new.
Yeah, last week Jeannie was sharing Sanctified Arts thing this year. What is it? It's come close to home. That was it.
Mhm.
But if you're not familiar with that, they've got wonderful resources. They've got liturgies for every week and music suggestions and original music, and their theme plays through everything. It's
Their main liturgical writer, Sarah A-R-E.
Uh-huh.
That woman's gifted. Doggone it, anyways. If you're Irish, Scottish, Irish, and you like turning phrases, she's your girl.
Little Iona there.
well, and to throw out, there's also, I've been doing some workshops. I hope, I keep freezing here. Marcia McPhee with Worship Design Studio.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I'm freezing up, you guys.
I'm quiet because I'm writing down one of these things in the chat.
How's everybody feeling going into Advent and Christmas? Are you ready for it? Or are you excited to have it come in? Or are you so tired after all you go through right now? How are you?
This is being recorded. That's how I am.
Just a note, Presbyterian Outlook.
Well, didn't mean you were supposed to pour out your heart and your soul, just kind of generally. Excuse me, David.
Oh, just a note, Presbyterian Outlook, their current issue is Advent Christmas resources for families. So you might want to check out the Presbyterian Outlook. Innovative ideas, blah, 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 worship with children, illustrated children's moments, building faith. Julie Kaufman Hester, I'm not sure who, Myers Park Presbyterian Church, North Carolina, Charlotte. You know her, Carol?
Say your name again, please.
Julie Kaufman Hester, associate pastor with her husband, Dan. Well, anyway.
I'd have to see her picture, I guess, to
Yeah.
see if I do.
I always like going to our Presbyterian resources. They're often very well done.
I'm not sure I have them on the ministry resource page, but the Advent page, everything I get, and I'll be adding this stuff to that. If you're looking for things, I try, whenever I find them, I put them on there. So
Thank you, Julie.
Yeah. I will say that I think one thing that I'm struggling with at this particular moment in time is that a lot of my folks can articulate that what they want is tradition, and they want it to be like they remembered it, but many of those things still aren't going to quite work yet, and so we've got a lot of really innovative, fun ideas that I'm like, I'm not sure if this is the year for it, but I also need some energy myself. And so trying to like walk that line is challenging, I think, at this time. And so you're asking, how am I feeling? I'm like, well, it's a little energy draining to try and be figuring out what other people are wanting. I failed mind reading in seminary. And so, trying to figure out how to be traditional enough for those who deeply want and need tradition, but also innovative enough for our young families and to tie in the people that are just going to be online instead of in person.
Yeah, transformation, yeah.
Yeah, that whole idea of traditional, when this whole online thing for, most of us is totally not, there is no tradition. So what does that mean?
We're making it up as we go.
That's absolutely right.
There is another good resource, Presbyterian magazine, Presbyterian Today, they've just released yesterday an issue that focuses on Advent. pcusa.org/2021 Advent. And they have a good Facebook presence as well. I've been reading Presbyterian Today online now for a couple of years. It's always good.
Thanks, David. Linda, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was, I'm concerned about the people who want tradition and the people who want something new, or connecting with people who aren't necessarily churched, who don't have the language of the standard, New Revised Standard version of the Bible stuck in their head. And that would be to just take the traditional scriptures, but use the Message translation, or one of those newer translations. I'm partial to the Message, but something like that uses contemporary language. And I find when I do this, it grabs the attention of the older congregants too, because they hear it in a new way. It's the same stuff, but it helps just helps them think more deeply about those things. And in the little churches that I'm working with, BB, I mean, when we have 14 people in worship, that's a wonderful thing. They really are appreciating when I use the Message translation. They get a lot out of it, and they tell me so. Because it's the things they know, but said in a new way. And when we do have occasional visitors, it resonates with them better.
Yes, that's a wonderful translation. And yeah, hearing old things in a new way makes us stop and pay attention.
Well, I want to add to that. I love the Message, but also, are y'all familiar with Cotton Patch Gospel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're in a rural setting, I've used that a number of times. Read the Christmas stories, from Cotton Patch Gospel. It is so much fun.
I hadn't thought about that in forever.
Billy Joe and Bobby John and
Well, if anybody else has something burning to say, please speak up here. Jeff,
how about thank you for doing this.
I just had one more thing to say. I was just thinking as we were talking, we have so many people who aren't churched we're trying to reach, or technology gives us a way to do that we hadn't before. And it just really seems to me, even more than Easter, Christmas is a time where everybody knows a little bit about church, where they at least seen it in movies and seen, it's part of everybody's tradition a little bit, even if they've never been in worship. So it gives us an opportunity that for tradition, not just for the traditions we've done, but for, the part that is a kind of a culture that a lot of our people around us are kind of share. And so I think the things we can do that pick that up can be very meaningful. The ways that we can, tap into that nostalgia, that experience of Christmas, and kind of then broaden it for everyone. So I understand people want that tradition. And I think that people who aren't in the church to some degree want that tradition as well.
Well, I want to piggyback on what you said, Jeff, and go back to we're reaching people because of the pandemic. We're reaching folks that we didn't reach before. We actually brought in a number of new people here in Conway just on the internet, and some people who are still doing church from their house. And I know that's not our tradition, but I think if you can find somebody in your congregation that has some technical skill, don't just point a camera, at the front and record it and think that that's online. Do some things creatively in the way that you present. Jeff Ryken at our church here in Conway is just doing amazing things. You don't have to go that far, but it is so important when you do your online presence we learned this years ago in doing websites. If you just have a stupid website that's static and it doesn't change, nobody's going to look at it. And the same thing is true with online presence. So find somebody that knows something about videos and editing and that sort of stuff. Like, but it doesn't have to be the pastor, Marie.
That's right. That's right. Well, listen, I said 10 to 11 and we have already gone 4 minutes over. I appreciate you guys so much. I hope this has been helpful for you. I put in there, watch tomorrow's update. I've got a landing page that has resources about last week, and I'm going to add to it ones from this week. You guys that shared something, I see some of them you've put up here. Please share them with me, and I will be sharing them with everyone, including the recording of this. So thank you all so very much. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a wonderful Advent season. Peace.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.